So in 2015, actually for Art Blitz, Bobby is here actually, or somewhere. Shout out for Art Blitz, I guess. So in 2015 Art Blitz, I had two friends, Tom Erickson and John Allen, who is also a LOCAVORE artist. They were doing a project on 13 parking ramps downtown, and Tom was doing some illustrations and John was doing some experimental video. And I had happened to have taken a picture of the spiral parking ramp off 2nd Street, which actually is this one right here, just for fun randomly. And they saw that and were interested in that and invited me to join the project because it was kind of different than what they were doing for the project. So I figured since the photograph was what enticed them to reach out to me, I figured I'd stick with photography. Although I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a strictly a photographer, I kind of just do a lot of random things. So the 13 parking ramps were basically in the DMC heart of the city, and that's per the DMC master plan. It's basically the hub of activity in downtown Rochester. And we included the Mayo Clinic parking ramps, but we didn't include the private, smaller ones, just because with Mayo, there's kind of a private-public sort of weird dichotomy in this town. There's 13 ramps, and I knew I wanted to do 13 different commonalities of subject matter between them, but I wasn't entirely sure what those would be. So I knew a few of them that I wanted to do, like exterior shots of all of them, but other ones I wasn't really sure because when it comes to parking ramps, I mean, they're not necessarily the most aesthetically pleasing of structures, and most of us just kind of get in and get out as fast as possible. We use them for purely utilitarian purposes, that is to park your car. So I walked all 13 of them in the day and night and just kind of wandered around and did almost kind of a survey-like thing for all the ramps. And the categories are pretty self-explanatory, but each ramp is in a vertical column and each category goes across. And there's a couple interesting things that I took from it is walking around the ramps as a pedestrian felt kind of weird. It felt kind of almost sometimes like I was doing something wrong as a pedestrian in an urban landscape. And I think as someone who walks around in this town, downtown, even sometimes I feel weird walking around, which I think is just more of a statement on urban development and the role of a person versus, a vehicle sort of thing. And interestingly enough, I was with John once and he was doing some video of another parking ramp that was a Mayo one. And I was hanging back a little bit and he actually got stopped by Mayo security and taken down, and they were inquiring what are you doing? And he's like, I'm doing an art project on parking ramps, and they were really confused and didn't know how to address that at all. And then I think, so thankfully I just hung back, and he had a tripod that looked a little more scary, I guess. But so that was an interesting critique, I think, on anything kind of weird in the name of art in this town, and there's some interesting resistance to that. But some of the other things that struck me is there's actually a lot of people who I ran into in parking ramps using it for other purposes. So I found a lot of other people doing photography, and some people doing modeling photo shoots, and there's one of the categories is just weird things, and they're right there. And just other creatures living in there and stuff like that. So you definitely get a weird appreciation of sorts just walking through them. It's not something I would ever think I would ever do, but there I guess. If you want to have the same perspective as I do, just go walk all the parking ramps. And final things that I kind of learned as, I had read through the DMC master plan actually about parking because I figured I should just learn about the city's parking policies, and what I've learned is parking really just tells a story. Parking ramps, actually. And it's basically the story of the automobile in our urban landscape. The whole city is basically developed around cars, and parking ramps are just fulfilling that integral part of development for people coming and going. For better or for worse. I'm not necessarily making a judgment call on that, but in the Midwest in particular, parking, in bigger cities, it's not as much of a identity thing, but I think in the Midwest, and it's definitely for America, an identity thing to drive a car. So And in Rochester in particular, it's a contentious issue just because, you know, if you're a Mayo employee, it's like a 10-year waiting period for a parking spot. It's 15 now. And I guess one of the most visited pages on the Mayo Clinic for visitors is the parking thing. So it's clearly a thing that's on people's minds. And, you know, like I said, I actually read through the DMC master plan because I'm a weirdo. And they plan to add some more parking spots and some more ramps, but they don't plan to basically bring or add as many as there are anticipated population coming in. So I have a feeling that it's going to become even more contentious in the future, especially with people who have been living here for so long and some of the old guard in this town, as they're going to encourage alternative means of transportation. So that should be interesting. And as part of like the project, we just kind of joked that we kind of appropriated the phrase "the personal is political" with "parking is political," and I feel like it's just only going to get more political as the